So before we start, I am Mani and I'm a lead business analyst. And I've been with EPAM for a little over 4 years. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure the session is going to be full of new insights and valuable takeaways. But when we talk about values, one thing that really intrigues me is that, how sometimes as BAs, we have to wear product owner hat, product manager hat, just to ensure that we are developing something that is holistic and that is being consumed by users properly. So I think I would definitely want to invite two of my colleagues who are seasoned product owners on stage to talk about something very interesting. Uh, let's welcome Abhishek and Pavan. Abhishek brings over 15 years of experience as a BA and PO in different domains. And Pavan has an experience of over 16 years, and they are here to talk about a very interesting topic that is from business analysis to product management, the customer centricity shift. Over to you, Abhishek. Thank you.
Thank you, Mani. So I think you brought in a very good point, very critical point, Mani, that we face this problem as BAs quite often in our careers at various times, right? And it is very critical for us to resolve this. But at the same time, it is really important for us to understand that the one way that I believe could really help us to resolve this problem is to embrace customer centricity and to adopt a product mindset. That is something that we at EPAM do quite extensively. So um, I think if you do that, it will not only help you resolve those issues, but you'll also be able to elevate yourself to a different level altogether. What do you think about that, Pavan?
Yeah, thanks, Abhishek. So, hi everyone. I absolutely agree with you, Abhishek, that one needs to have customer centricity mindset, right, before solving any problems for customers. Now, let me tell you a story now. So, I have a friend who is very good at making lemonades. He has a great recipe. It is something like an exotic recipe that he has for making lemonade, and he has been doing at his home, and his relatives, his friends have been enjoying that lemonade. And one day he thought that, okay, let's make a business out of it. And what he has created a chain of outlets for that. And now in the first few months of his business, it was profitable and it was going well. But after that, it got stagnated. So I was a BA at the time, and I was his friend. So that time he asked me a few suggestions that, okay, now what should I do so that my business will again become profitable. So that time, as I was a BA, I was able to give him few suggestions which improves, which where you can reduce the cost and where you can improve the efficiencies in the process. So improving efficiencies in the process in terms of using machines wherever there is a manual process. And cost reductions, I was saying that okay, I have gave some suggestions that you can use sugar syrup instead of sugar, and something like that for materials. So he was able to implement that, and for few months again, there was increase in profit, and the business was booming. But after again few months of time, again it got stagnated. So that time I got very curious to understand now what are the causes of it's becoming stagnating again. And I was trying to explore the solutions. And when I was exploring solutions, customer centricity, understanding customer centricity became a very big turning point. And for improving the profitability and looking at what customer is doing, customer centricity mindset is a very important critical thing to understand. And for a BA, in my opinion, I think there are 5 ways in which customer centricity mindset can be improved for a particular BA. The first one, which is very important one, is to understand what customer needs are, what customer pain points are. This thought process should be enabled or imbibed in the BA mindset, so that the BA will be able to dive deeply and empathetically he can understand what customer needs are. And the second one is to understand or identify what are the business drivers. Why do you understand business drivers? That will be very important when you're trying to create solutions and when you're trying to map the solutions, and you can understand how dynamically the business drivers are changing with your solutions. And the third one is when you are trying to create a product, what do? You have multiple features, and you're trying to build something out of it. But there are few features, right, where it would be good for the product and which will improve the profitability, but it may not be relevant for the customer. So in that sense, you have to say no to few of the features and say yes to few of the features which are really important to the customer, for the end user as well. And the fourth one is when you are creating solutions and creating a product, you have to have open communication with the stakeholders. That is really important because you have to align all solutions and all the expectations what you are doing for the end user. And last but not the least is when you deliver your product, when it is there in the market, you have to understand whether it is success or failure. So for that, you have to create certain set of mindset that how do you understand what are the success factors or what are the KPIs and metrics. So you have to have that sort of a mindset to even define the metrics and measure the success. So Abhishek, what do you think about this mindset?
I think you got it absolutely bang on with that, Pavan. I think that you've cracked the code, if you ask me, right? Because the 5 factors that I see on the screen right now, I think they are the key to be developing a customer-centric thought process. But you know what? I was thinking about it. What you've told here is something. What should we do, right? But I think all of us, at certain point in time, we feel like, okay, we go someplace, somebody tells us, okay, you should do this, you should do this, but nobody tells us how should we do it, right? So I think it is really important for us to understand how do we actually do this. So let me actually take you through my personal recipe of doing this stuff, and how was I able to elevate myself from a business analyst into a product manager. So you see this, this is basically talking about developing a 3-step plan, right? So you start with the foundational level. At the foundation, what you need to do is you need to change your thought process. You need to start thinking more about customer. I'm not saying do not think about business. Business still needs to be profitable, but do not let go of the customer from your side. The customer should be, must be your first preference. You have to change that thought process itself. You have to, how can you do that? You have to shadow customer interactions. Take any and every opportunity that you get. Okay, talk to people, understand their pain points firsthand. The more you hear from the people directly, not from a third person, not from a fourth person, that is when you actually understand what it really means, what their real pain points are. Now that you've understood, you've heard them, you've realized what is the problem, you're trying to map it and find out how is it being solved. Is there really a solution, or is there something better that you can do? And that is where the research skills comes in. So you have to identify competitor, you have to identify market, all of that. It is very important as a business analyst or a product manager. It is very important to merge that mindset with the skill set. You cannot have one go with another, go without another. I'm so sorry. Third, a hands-on. It is a must-have, right? You have got to do hands-on practice. The best way to do that is to start with certain artifacts. Start customer empathy artifacts. Go with personas, user hypotheses. I don't know, empathy maps, right? There's so many artifacts out there that you could create, you could practice, you could generate hands-on experience with. This is when you do all of this and you develop a foundational experience. Mind you, you're not exposing this to anybody yet. You are learning. This is your learning curve. Unless and until you have a strong foundation, unless and until you have a strong base, there's no way you're going to build a building that's going to stay long enough. Once you're confident that your foundation has been established, you move to application phase. What happens in the application phase? Whatever you've learned, you apply it. But when you're applying it a little closer to yourself. You're not putting it out there, right? You're trying to figure out, oh, you know what? I learned this particular thing. This product manager in the team is doing it this way. Fair enough. Let me try doing it my way. You're not putting it out there, but you're practicing on real world problems. So you develop the foundation. Now you're building on top of it by practicing on something that you're working on. You don't need to put it out there yet, unless you're absolutely confident. So you have to do feature analysis in your own way to apply your own learning process. Then comes validation. Now, validation is where it becomes really, really important, because just because you think about it in a certain way or you've learned it in a certain way does not mean that it is actually the right way, right? You've got to lean on the experience of the leaders. You've got to lean into the experience of people who've been doing this day in, day out. So talk to them, understand them, validate your perspective with them. Talk to senior product managers, talk to delivery managers. These guys will help you. If you do not have access to them, what you can do is there are plethora of options available. You reach out to customers. A by B testing is one of the most important things that you can do, right? Last but not the least, in the application phase, you have to build the environment around you. You have to start influencing the people around you, right? So your team has, you're not just a BA, right? Or you're not just a product manager. Your team has devs, your team has QAs, your team has Scrum Master. That does not necessarily mean they also have that same thought process. So you have to start building that culture in the team. You have to take that lead, right? Because the moment you start taking that lead, you start building that leadership thought in your mind. You get to understand that, okay, this is the environment that I am bringing around me, so I will only grow further. Think of it like you are a plant that needs to ensure that you have the right soil, the right environment, and the right kind of water around you. That is what means by application. Now, once you've applied it, you validated your theories, you validated your practice, you understood that, yes, it absolutely works fine, I am aligned. Then is when you actually go and demonstrate it to the wider audience, right? Put it out there. Let people understand what you've done. Let people see it. How do you do that? Very simple process. Volunteering, okay? Go out there, talk to people, tell your product manager, tell your delivery manager, okay, you know what? I want to take this feature, I want to own it end to end, from conceptualization to launch. That is what I want to do. Strategize it, figure out how you want to do it, create the vision, create the mission, take it from there, understand, research, do everything that you have to write until you launch it. When I say launch, we're talking metrics, we're talking tracking the metrics, we're launching campaigns and whatnot. There are so many things that you do when it comes to taking a feature from conceptualization into launch. And customer advocacy is something that you cannot let go of at any point in time. So you have to exhibit that thought process in any meeting that you go to. What I mean by that, one of very important leaders of one of the e-commerce companies across the globe, he believes that you should always have a customer's seat at the table in any meeting that you have. That basically means whenever you are having a meeting, take a chair which is empty. Imagine that a customer is sitting there. In every meeting, you should ask that empty chair, what do you think? Think like customer. Think what your customer would tell you. Think what the customer would say. What does he need? What does he do? What does he want? All of that is very important when it comes to customer centricity. What do you think, Pavan?
Absolutely right, Abhishek. So I was talking about the mindset shift in terms of customer centricity. And now there is a skill set shift as well. So these are the two things that I have imbibed in myself when I was trying to move from BA to product manager. Now, what happened when I tried to understand customer centricity, when I have learned all those, grasped all the things, that time I was able to give a better suggestions for my friend, right? So when he was trying to understand what the problem is, how we can improve the profitability, what I have done is I told him that, okay, now we have to concentrate on what customer needs are, what they want. So when we were trying to answer that, we understood that, okay, we need to have different recipes. Like some customers may want with a pinch of ginger, lemonade with a pinch of ginger, lemonade with a pinch of salt, and somebody wants only sugar. So with that, we were trying to create multiple products for based on the customer needs. So once we have done that, his business started growing a lot, and it has become more profitable. So that's how we implemented customer centricity into whatever my friend was doing, and customer centricity becoming the core of the whole product management.
Again, I think you did a brilliant job out there, Pavan, and your results speak for themselves, right? So I think there's no wonder about that. I think for closing this topic, I think I just want to call out a very basic thought, right? When it comes to product mindset, or when it comes to thinking like for your customer, you have to think from the perspective that what you're building for them is not for them, is not for the client, but it is for their customer, right? And you have to believe in the product. You're trying to sell it, right? At the end of the day, even your customer wants to sell that particular product to their customers, right? So you have to believe that the product that you're building is your own baby, is your own product, is your own creation, and you believe that it truly adds a value. right? So how you know, like I am a father of two, and I know that I want to ensure that my kids achieve their true potential, their maximum potential. The same applies to product. It's a very simple analogy, right? The same applies. If you believe that the product is your own child, you will ensure that everything that you put in them, every culture that you imbibe in your child, every thought process that goes in there is for their good, and is for the good of eventual selling of the product. Not that you're selling your kids, but you know what I mean, right? So yeah, that's essentially right. You've got to believe in the product. And yeah, I think with that, we'll take any questions that you may have. Please.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, I have two questions. Right. Question number one: uh, the technology managers right now, they have huge wish list. Correct. They are very much fascinated with all these AI technologies, the evolving new landscape of technology, and at the same time, customers, they have their own wish list. How do you manage a common point between these both? Because few times the customers might not need a technology solution, they might need something else, maybe a manual update or manual process, or maybe some sort of uh, or maybe verbal talk, but you would like to give a solution for it through a technology like a chatbot or something. But how do you try to really balance a point where a customer and a technology manager is satisfied? That's my first question. Second question, uh, one thing that really fascinated me or maybe caught my attention was saying no on your slide. I need a little bit more insights about that.
First.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll go with that second question that you have asked, right? So you're able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when I said that, okay, we need to have that mindset where we can where we can say no for the requirements, right? Whatever the customer had. So let me take an example. So for example, when my customer is saying that, okay, I have a big product to create, and but for that I need I have about 50 features. So in that 50 features, there are few features, something like which, for example, I'll say maybe e-commerce platform that the customer wants. So for that e-commerce platform, the customer says that, okay, I have some core process that needs to be created, and along with that, there are some other additional processes that needs to be, which are as part of support to the core process that needs to be created. Now, how should I go about it? So now I'm trying to create an MVP for that, right? So I cannot take all the 50 features together. So what happens is I'll consider the core process first, because without that your business cannot fly. Okay, and after that maybe I'll take up the support process, which may be adding value to that core process. So that's how I'll try to differentiate between what is needed for the business, which will at least have a faster go to market, and which are the features which may wait for maybe the next release, which are not completely core to the process that has to be released for. So that's how we can differentiate where we can say no, or where we can say yes.
Just to add on to that, and actually this my answer is going to be actually very much related to your first question as well, so probably I'm going to try and answer both of them at the same time. So I think it all boils down to, as is the theme of this particular talk, right? Customer centricity. So you talk about telling people no, you talk about uh, leadership wanting something, or tech leaders versus wanting something else. At the end of the day, you have to tell them no as well. So the two questions are actually very much related. You do not need to worry about, or you do not need to think about what does the client want versus what does the technology leader want. That is the whole point of this conversation. Your first preference must be the customer that is going to impact. You have to think about them. You have to think about the value that you're going to add to them. When you do that, trust me when I tell you, everything will fall into place. The moment you tell somebody that this is the value that I'm going to add with this particular thing to the customer, and this is what it will not add, that is where no comes in, with a proper justification. You are not saying no out of hunch, right? You're saying no based on facts. The same applies when you're talking about tech leaders versus the customers. The customers at the end of the day want business, right? For them, at the end of the day, for every business is important money, right? So you've got to figure out, is it really either letting them earn more money, or is it saving them money, or in any other metric, right? So you have to focus on metrics. That is why metrics become really, really important, really, really critical. So you've got to figure out the sweet spot between finding the customer value, managing the business expectations, managing the technical expectations. That's exactly what the job of a product manager is. It's in the books. If you look at it, it's a Venn diagram with 3 boxes or 3 circles. At the center of it sits product manager. And that's where customer centricity comes. When you do that, you're bound to succeed. I hope I answered your question.
First of all, great presentation, Pavan and Abhishek. It was very short and crisp, and it had a very profound impact. My question is that, assuming that this particular framework has, elevated your thought process, and you guys were able to deliver the customer value, I wanted to understand what are the challenges you guys faced on the path.
I'll take that, Pavan, if that's okay. Okay, thank you. The challenges, right? Imagine that you are, I don't know, you are an author, you are a writer, right? And you've been a writer since your teenage, right? And you've been taught, okay, this is how you write an A. That's your way. You write an A like this, right? But suddenly somebody comes back and says, you know what, in a particular country or in a particular language, you don't write A like this. You write A in a little different way. And now I have to unlearn everything and learn everything afresh. So somebody, since my childhood, well, I say somebody, I mean my parents, of course. So my parents, since my childhood, told me there is a certain way to do certain things. Forget about why, do things, right? But then when I'm exploring the product mindset concept, when I'm exploring the customer centricity, the books tell me, the experience tells me that I need to let go. I need to let go of everything that I have learned, I have imbibed in me as my values since birth, since I started thinking, right? It's been a practice of decades. And I have to suddenly get into it and change that whole thing and wipe the slate off and start afresh. That's not going to be easy. And that is the biggest challenge that I faced. It was not easy. It took time. I had to introspect a lot. Every time I did something, I thought, could I have done it a little differently? Could I have done it with a thought process of customer? It will take time, like I said, but eventually you will get it. As long as you are your own most critic person, you have to criticize yourself. You have to figure out, where are you wrong? Where could you do better? I hope I answered.
Yeah, adding up to that, so the challenge that I faced, maybe I'll explain to you, right? So when I was trying to understand what customer centricity is, what product management is, I had a lot of reference material, and I had a lot of people whom I can maybe follow up with and try to understand what it is about. But once I learned all of those things, right, I was not able to get any opportunity to implement, right? What, as Abhishek said, that I did not have any opportunities that to do that. So what happened was I tried to grab the opportunities. So at a practice level, you had various initiatives, and at a customer level as well, right? There are various opportunities. So where I try to understand and implement, try to implement whatever that I have learned in terms of whatever it is, in terms of trying to discover what the needs are, and trying to create a roadmap, or trying to create a metrics by which you can measure the success of whatever you have implemented. So all those things I faced some challenges, but yeah, try to grab those opportunities as well. So that's what I have done. Yeah.
My question is concerned with where Pavan said that he tried lemonade with different flavors. So my question turns towards how to marry this with the domain standards. Because, and if we are sticking to domain, then how to introduce new ideas?
Okay, I think I would want you to hold on to that thought, Mitu. The reason is the next talk is predominantly around how domains and how BAs and things like that could happen. So maybe we'll hold on to that thought for now, and we'll probably have that answer in the next talk. Yeah.
Just a second.
So firstly, thank you for giving those customer centricity holistically. I think that's something that I'm going to take away home. There's one thing that caught my attention when you're talking about transitioning from a BA to a PM. One was the mindset shift, and the second was the skill set shift. By mindset shift, I believe it's related to customer centricity, but I would like to get more insights on the second part that you have mentioned, which is the skill set shift.
Okay, so these both things, whether you talk about mindset, whether you talk about skill set, okay, yes, you may have a mindset, but there is a standard approach, right? There is a way things are done, right? For example, if I'm assuming you are a business analyst as of now.
Yes.
Okay, great. So if I tell you that, okay, create a process flow diagram, or if I tell you create a BRD, if I tell you create a user story, you know there is a standard format that you have to follow, right? And that is something that the moment any BA or any developer in the world would see, they will know what it means. Same concept applies to product management. Product management has its own frameworks, has its own techniques, has its own ways of doing things, which are standardized, right? The moment any other PO sees it, any other product manager sees it, they know what you're talking about. That is where the skill set comes in. But again, like I said, only skill set is also not enough, because while you may know what to do, if you do not, while you may know how to do it, if you do not know what to do, you'll again be in trouble, right? So it is important for you to understand how do you marry those two things. Sorry to steal your words, Mitu, but yeah, that's essentially what I'm trying to say, right? You've got to figure out, you have to learn the skills, you have to change the mindset, and put those things together to be an effective customer-centric product manager. You may be a product manager, but you're not an effective product manager unless you're thinking about the customer.
Right.
That is where it comes in.
Just to add on to whatever Abhishek said, right? So yeah, mindset is very important, because without that, you will not have that behavior, right? That okay, you have to work towards something or solve customer needs. And skill set, as you were saying, that can be built over the years. So it is a continuous learning anyway, building the skills. Okay, that's how you have to maybe differentiate.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
I think we just have a couple of minutes. Maybe we'll take one last question and then maybe park rest of them towards the end of the session, because we do have to. Yep. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sudarshan sir and Rohit sir, for bringing this organization for this event. Thank you very much. And the madam also, and both of you, thank you very much. But this one put together into this one BA in an HR functions. With the respect to the technology changing up and using the one AI tool, and then HR functions in the different one, how to be the one to take the decisions in this technology changing in the content management or the any kind of functions in the change management, employee experience design, and also the one something else, whatever it is. And then particularly made mention to this BA, HR, AI, NI, totally forget a word across the globe. They are using only the hottest topic like this on AI. But why not NI, natural intelligence, totally across the globe is wiped out and added to these two letters AI. And sorry to you. And your opinion on this one, NI, AI, BA, HR, put together in this one technology, in these HR functions, how to be the one by use the one functions by the HR people in the synergizers in the taking the technology changing world. Your opinion.
Sure. So first and foremost, thank you for that question. That's a brilliant question. Now, one thing I want to call out, HR as a role is very underrated. Okay. In EPAM, we prefer to call them people persons. Every HR of ours is kind of prefixed with a people partner, people this, people that, right? So we are not HRs predominantly, at least on designation. Having said that, people person predominantly means that you have to have natural intelligence. There is no way you can be a people person without actually having a conscience, without actually being a good human, right? That is where natural intelligence will come in. There is no denying that. AI can always help you. Now, okay, we'll talk about BA first. So when I say BA and HR, I'm assuming you're talking about BAs in HRMS as a domain, right? So again, in HRMS as a domain is a very common concept. No concerns there. But AI is where it can really be impactful, right? You've got to figure out what are the places where HR functions could be improved in terms of efficiency. We have so many processes which take so much time. We have so many things that take up so much elaborate processes and whatnot. If they can be automated using AI, why not? That would be my understanding. Pavan?
Is one interesting session which is going to be there for AI. I think it will really maybe clarify all that question that you had. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Love the fact that the speakers, audience, everybody is equally enthusiastic about speaking on this topic. But because we have a time restriction, thank you so much, Abhishek and Pavan. Great insights, much needed at this point of time.